HYBE's silence shocked everyone after Jimin's historic Dior SS26 appearance. The world stopped for a moment at Dior's Spring-Summer 2026 show. Cameras flashed, voices hushed, and every gaze turned toward one man, Jimin. The air shifted the second he entered the venue, as though fashion itself recognized the presence of something it could not fully contain. It was not merely a celebrity appearance, it was a moment of cultural significance. Yet what followed was even more shocking than his flawless presence. HYBE, his own company, said nothing. How could the company behind one of the world's most celebrated artists remain silent during a global event that elevated his influence beyond music, beyond borders, beyond industry lines? The silence wasn't just strange, it was deafening. Fans noticed instantly. Social media exploded with questions, confusion, and anger. Was this deliberate? Was there a reason for the silence? Or was it an act of indifference that revealed something deeper beneath the polished surface of the entertainment empire? The Dior SS26 event was nothing short of history in motion. Jimin's every move commanded attention, his tailored presence, the subtle power of his expression, the calm that emanated from his poise. Global fashion editors called him a walking statement of modern grace. Top designers whispered his name with reverence. Every outlet from Paris to New York declared that Jimin had redefined what it means to represent Dior. Yet, as luxury magazines and international broadcasters replayed his arrival in slow motion, the company that helped build his image remained completely mute. That silence turned into a story of its own. Was it a strategic decision? Was HYBE choosing to step back and let Dior take the spotlight? Or was something happening behind closed doors? Something unspoken that made celebration impossible? Observers couldn't ignore the timing. The lack of acknowledgement came just when Jimin's individuality was shining brightest, independent from the group identity or corporate promotion. It was as though his global success existed in a separate orbit, one that HYBE was unwilling or unable to publicly acknowledge. The reaction from fans was swift and emotional. Millions of posts underlined one sentiment. Why isn't HYBE proud? For many, it wasn't simply about a missing tweet or congratulatory post. It was about recognition, respect, and what the silence symbolized. Jimin's appearance wasn't just a fashion cameo. It was the culmination of years of artistry, discipline, and cultural impact. By not responding, HYBE created a vacuum that fans and media were eager to fill. Theories spread like wildfire. Some claimed the company didn't want to highlight an individual moment over the collective brand. Others suspected something far more complex. An internal shift in priorities, perhaps a rebalancing of focus away from personalities toward corporate projects. Whatever the truth, HYBE's silence carried weight. It spoke in the language of omission, leaving audiences to interpret its meaning. And that, perhaps, was the most dangerous part. Even in silence, the world was still watching. Every frame of Jimin's appearance, every replay of his entrance, became a digital monument to presence without endorsement. It proved a powerful truth, that recognition does not need permission. While HYBE's media channels stayed dormant, fans, fashion insiders, and cultural commentators took over the narrative. The world celebrated him, with or without corporate acknowledgement. In fact, the absence of official celebration made his victory feel even more authentic, proof that artistry and influence can exist beyond management. For Dior, the collaboration was nothing short of gold. The house positioned Jimin not merely as an ambassador, but as a living embodiment of its philosophy. Refined, modern, timeless. His face became synonymous with luxury redefined for a new generation. The footage of him stepping into the venue became one of the most replayed moments of the entire fashion week. Even without speaking a word, he communicated everything: confidence, humility, and control. But while the world celebrated, HYBE's silence became a question mark etched across every headline. Why didn't they share the moment? Why didn't they even acknowledge the magnitude of what had happened? For an organization built on visibility, connection, and media precision, the lack of a response felt almost unnatural. Some analysts believe this silence reflects a calculated distance, a corporate attempt to separate the brand from any narrative they cannot control. Others see it as evidence of disconnection, the widening gap between artist and institution. But perhaps it is something even more profound, a reflection of fear. Fear of independence, of uncontrollable fame, of losing grip over a star whose influence has grown beyond measurable limits. The most unsettling part isn't just the silence, it's how loud it became. Every time fans searched HYBE's official channels for acknowledgement and found none, the silence deepened. Every time media outlets published glowing reviews of Jimin's appearance, the absence of corporate validation became more obvious. The result was paradoxical. In trying to say nothing, HYBE said everything. What does it mean when an artist's own success is not celebrated by those who should be their strongest advocates? The question haunts not only fans but the entertainment world at large. For many, Jimin's Dior SS26 moment became a symbol of individuality, proof that talent, grace, and influence can transcend corporate silence. The public realized that applause no longer needs to come from above. It can rise from the audience, from genuine admiration, from truth seen and felt collectively. HYBE's silence, intended or not, transformed into a mirror reflecting the industry's most uncomfortable truths. It revealed how fragile the relationship between art and control can be. It showed how easily celebration can turn into controversy, how absence can speak louder than a press release. And it reminded everyone that in today's world, the voice of the people often outweighs the power of corporations. In the end, Jimin didn't need HYBE's acknowledgement to define his success. The world had already decided. His appearance at Dior SS26 was not just an event, it was a declaration of independence. He stood there under the blinding lights of Paris, embodying elegance that no silence could overshadow. HYBE's quiet may have been intentional, but the echo of that silence became something they could never control. A global outcry of admiration for Jimin, louder than any words they could have said. And so the story of Dior SS26 became more than fashion, more than fame. It became a reminder. Sometimes silence doesn't protect. Sometimes silence exposes. And in this case, HYBE's silence did both. When the lights dimmed at Dior SS26 and the first glimpse of Jimin emerged, the atmosphere shifted instantly. The crowd, fashion elites, industry icons, and global journalists fell silent, not out of indifference but awe. Cameras clicked furiously, flashes strobed like lightning, and in that blinding storm of attention, one thing became painfully clear. Jimin had just rewritten the definition of grace. His presence wasn't merely an appearance, it was an era-defining statement. But as applause thundered across Paris and Dior's official pages celebrated his every move, one question began to echo worldwide. Why was HYBE silent? The silence wasn't accidental. It was deafening. Days passed, fans scrolled endlessly, waiting for a single acknowledgement from the label that built its empire partly on Jimin's brilliance. Yet nothing came. No post, no congratulatory message, no symbolic nod. In an industry where every move is calculated, silence speaks volumes. And this particular silence, cold, deliberate, and public, ignited a storm across global fandoms. Was this a mistake or a message? Observers quickly noticed that Dior's official pages flooded with tributes. Fashion media hailed Jimin as the new face of timeless modernity, and even rival brands discreetly praised his aura. But the company that once positioned him as a global ambassador seemed detached, as though his success existed outside their narrative. That contradiction struck deeper than any scandal. How could a moment so monumental, arguably one of the most historic appearances in K-pop's relationship with global fashion, be met with total indifference? Insiders whispered that the atmosphere behind the scenes was tense, that some feared Jimin's influence had outgrown the control of his management, that perhaps his individual radiance now overshadowed collective identity. Whether rumor or reality, fans began piecing together fragments that didn't fit: the growing absence of public interaction, the shift in narrative tone, and now this unsettling silence during his most celebrated moment. It wasn't just a lack of celebration. It was an absence of recognition, the kind that cuts deeper than criticism. For Jimin's fans, this wasn't simply about fashion. It was about respect, acknowledgement, and fairness. How could an artist who became Dior's symbol of elegance, who elevated the brand's visibility in Asia and beyond, not receive a single word of appreciation from the company that once called him its pride? Every major publication, from Vogue to Harper's Bazaar, ran headlines on Jimin's magnetic presence. Analysts discussed the Jimin effect, a measurable impact on brand engagement and luxury sales spikes following his appearances. Parisian critics described his walk as a quiet revolution in male fashion identity. Yet amidst all that praise, HYBE's social media remained still. And that stillness wasn't neutral, it was strategic. Some interpreted the silence as a quiet protest within the company's hierarchy. Others saw it as emotional distance, perhaps reflective of something deeper, tensions, boundaries, or even jealousy masked as professionalism. Regardless of motive, the public response was unified: disbelief. Fans questioned how an artist who continuously brings prestige to both Korean entertainment and international fashion could be treated as invisible in his own home. As speculation grew, so did the emotional divide. Many pointed to the irony. HYBE once boasted about global influence and cross-industry partnerships, yet now seemed incapable of acknowledging one of the most important cultural moments of the year. Could it be that Jimin's global stature has evolved beyond the company's ability to control the narrative? Or was this silence part of a larger, more calculated move, a reshaping of internal dynamics before the next phase of his career? The lack of a public gesture didn't erase the truth. Jimin dominated Dior SS26 like no other celebrity that night. His movements were measured, his gaze deliberate, his aura commanding. Even the way he interacted with the creative directors and photographers radiated power and confidence. Every detail, from his tailored outfit to his subtle demeanor, embodied a quiet authority that needed no validation.